to explain my response, I probably should have put another sentence on here, which is that I will oppose all revenue decreases and spending increases unless they are offset. The budget has to be balanced at the end of the day. This does not make anything moot. If you vote for this, it means that the amount of revenue that we expect to take in is the amount of revenue that in this budget book is the amount of revenue that we will spend when we get through with our deliberations. There will be no motions to spend extra money or unanticipated revenue should it come in. It's the only practical effect. Councilmember Pennington, do you wish to address these two motions?
Yes, ma'am. Thanks. I didn't think this would be that revolutionary in the proposal, because I know that every member of council knows that we discharged about 800 people 2 years ago, and that there's a projected budget deficit of about $81 million for 2015, which would mean that more people have to be discharged since our primary expenses are for employees, and since so many of our labor contracts will not allow us to reduce pay for anyone. I think that the city government has not been prolific. We have not increased the number of FTEs substantially. The department budgets have increased mostly because of the labor contracts that require an increase, and also because of the number of additional people that are served. So my motion, and I do agree with Councilmember Green on every council member having an opportunity to present their priorities. I know we have that in the CIP process, and I believe in the drainage process as well, where council members can make suggestions, and maybe during the budget hearings next time, or prior to the budget hearing next time, we should the administration should ask for proposals. I know my experience with the 4 budgets that I've worked on is that operational as opposed to financial issues are presented at this meeting, and I think they're better dealt with and should be dealt with in another forum, because most of them require complex information and consideration. So anyway, my request is that the balanced budget that the mayor has produced, amended by any changes where other programs are substituted for all of those, be maintained. And I think it's important that, as I said, that everyone recognize that we will have, or we're projected to have a budget deficit to deal with in 2015, and that is even after taking into consideration increase in ad valorem taxes, increase in sales taxes, which I think about 4% level. Which does increase the budget. So I think it's a very responsible thing to do, and I think it's something that most of our constituents would be responsible. But I don't think our constituents are ever going to agree with all the priorities that the council established, and I think that every council member ought to push those that he or she thinks is the best priority. But I think we all ought to agree that we ought to limit our spending so that we don't have to discharge a number of people, and we can properly prepare for the future. Thank you.
Councilmember Martin.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Maybe just a clarification to Councilmember Gross. Just a reminder that it was the mayor's intention to use anything above and beyond in operating. So really, if you're going to point the finger at it, point it at Pennington and I, because we're the ones that want to go with a little bit different view. So if anyone's pulling anything shady here, it's probably us two, not the mayor, because you did want to use it in operating, correct?
Well, for one-time expenditures, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
ma'am. But there's no difference between my amendment and Councilmember Pennington's. The difference is that I received the red line figure from Director Dow, and I think your figure was related to the original booklet. So I think if we need to change it, we need to change the dollar figure to the red line version. Is that correct?
Actually, no, sir. You're both looking at the same thing, but one chose an expense number and one chose a revenue number.
Okay.
So,
it balances.
It balances. Yes. Councilor Lask.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll try to re-ask the question I tried to ask a moment ago. For clarification purposes, if we were to vote for either one or two, you have indicated, or you used the phrase, it doesn't render anything that comes thereafter moot. And I gather that means that we can still vote on things that come thereafter. But my question is if we vote on either one or two and it passes, and any one of or all of the amendments come up and we pass all of those, What is the effect of that? How does that work? Who makes the decisions?
Well, it takes, the effect of these two amendments is that they would take one potential source of spending away, and that is unexpected revenue. It's that, you know, the check you get in the mail that you didn't think you were gonna have, what do you do with it? Last year, we said, when we passed the budget, if revenues come in above a certain amount, we would like to use up to, I think, up to $2 million of that to do performance reviews, so that we could, as we begin to, you know, restore services, and we have performance reviews to create greater efficiency. So it is quite possible to pass an item that has a large price tag and say, we'll only spend the money if it comes in above revenue. Otherwise, if you pass an item that has a large price tag, you have to find an offsetting decrease. It is, I would, council member could say, I want to take it from this category or that category, reduce spending here, and that could be part of the motion. Or council members can say, Mayor, we ask you to find it in X budget. So, but it just means that your revenue and expenditures that are in this book, those numbers stay fixed. And you just have to spend more, you cut someplace else.
Thank you for walking me through that process, because I think it gives me at least more of a boundary to understand how the day is going to play out. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. And I wanted to get that clarity as well, because certainly if we pass item 1 or 2, that my item number 3, anything in excess of fund balance exceeds 7.8%, up to $2 million will be used, not in this year new internal reviews or review processes that we have in place, but a citywide independent third-party analysis of the whole thing, efficiency, cost effectiveness, and like that. That's item number 3. And we passed this last budget amendment. We weren't able to actually follow through on that, but we will not be able to do this fund balance exceeds 7.8% of $2 million if in fact we pass item 1 or 2, and that's what you said, and so I just wanted to clarify that.
Councilmember May?
Yes.
I actually stand corrected. If we pass 1 and 2, that's why they were on the same page together. If we pass 1 and 2, it would render yours moot. I wasn't thinking in that way because we, based on the amendment we had last year, we were already doing those kinds of analysis.
And not specific to the budget amendment. This budget amendment is specific about independent third party, citywide operations. When we have these reviews and internal, I mean, this is obviously off the topic here, but it's department by department, a specific issue by specific issue, that sometimes the reason why we do these reviews is to actually give excuse to hire additional personnel or to have additional expense, because we find these review processes as a benefit to give us ourselves excuse to spend more and increase more expense rather than efficiency and cost effectiveness and cutting expenses. So that's the aim of item 3, and it's really essential to sticking to a budget and everything else. Question about item 1 is, I see a distinction between 1 and 2 in that 2 really gears towards not spending more than we anticipate, which is distinct from not spending more revenue that we anticipate coming in on other things, which is a little different. Like, for instance, we tend to spend more than we anticipate year after year. What happens, how do we function as a city? How do we actually pass this and do not spend more this year? I mean, how do we actually accomplish that? Because I certainly would love to see that happen. But just because we pass this amendment, can we not spend more than we normally do year after year than we budget?
If I followed you correctly, Councilmember, yes, my proposed budget is bigger than last year. We are spending more. I believe Councilmember Pennington's motion says, whatever my revenue estimate is, if revenue comes in above that, it has to roll over to next year, and I believe Councilmember Martin's is that whatever my expense estimate is, I cannot go above it.
Correct. What I'm saying, in clarity, I understand we're 6% larger budget than we were last year. That was my point. My point was, we budget an X amount of dollars to spend, but we actually spend more at the end of the day than we budgeted. We don't stick to our budget. So if we continue that cycle of spending more than we budget, when we pass this, how do we really enforce that? I mean, we tend to spend more than we budget. How do we stop that by this?
Councilmember, we had several contingent budget items in the last budget, and actually the budget prior to that. One of those contingent items was we want to replenish the rainy day fund. If money comes in above what we expect, we'll replenish the rainy day fund. And the rainy day fund is topped out. There was another budget item that says if money comes in above what we expect, we'll do third-party management reviews. So we actually were spending more than we expected, but council authorized those actions prior.
I'm sure there are elements of contingency based in our current budget. So that being said, how do we balance that fact with the fact that if we pass this, we won't be able to have that contingency factor, or will we?
It just means that,
We don't follow this amendment like we haven't followed a couple others.
no, it just means that if money comes in, it goes to the bottom line, it goes to fund balance to begin next year. We